Well, we asked a while back who was the stupidest Democrat, and well, we've got new contenders. So we feel like we need to revisit this issue so that you can vote and let us know down below in the chat or in the comments. Because as things continue to do well for Donald Trump and Republicans, as things continue to do well for the country and the citizens here, as we get the border secure, as we get egg prices down, as we start deporting murderers and gang members, well, see, that's all good news for us. It's bad news for Democrats. They're in total chaos right now, and that makes them even more desperate. So let's turn to our buddy Scott Jennings, who last night came up with a brilliant idea on how we can sort of rank these stupid woke monsters out of the Democrat Party and maybe put them in competition with each other.
What we need, with apologies to Joe Lenardi, a wokeatology bracket.
Oh, Lord.
To assess the most unhinged Democrats trying to take over the Democratic Party right now. I've got my number one seeds. We got Jasmine Crockett. We got AOC. We got Ilhan Omar. Now, the fourth one I'm undecided about. I'm tempted to give it to Chris Murphy because he's just really picked up his game in the last two to 3 weeks. But I really think we need a bracket to see which of these crazy Dems is going to ultimately take control of this party and bring its approval ratings from 29 to even lower depths. That's my hope for a term.
I think those woke Democrats would probably put you at number one on their brackets of Trump apologists.
100%. He's the number one seed.
Here, we were laughing, and then you just.
We can always count on Scott Jennings to bring it back.
Who's going to win?
Politics.
Jasmine.
I think it's very interesting.
I wouldn't want to play her in the. I wouldn't want to play
Chris
Jasmine
Murphy up there. That's interesting.
Wow, thank you, Newsbusters, for the clip. Can I just tell you, this is everything you need to know about the climate over there, not just on CNN, but in Washington, D.C. right now, between Republicans and Democrats. That's, I feel the struggle, Anna Navarro. All right, well, let's take Scott Jennings' advice here and actually start pitting these woke Dems against each other. Let's get our brackets ready, and we'll begin with, who did he say? Oh, yeah, Jasmine Crockett. Okay, Jasmine. Now, these clips are all taken from just the last day or so with these people. Let's see how they've been performing.
There's so much more that brings us together than separates us, right? And so get out of the cultural stuff, right? Because guess what? It's not the trans people that made you lose your job right now if you're without a job. It's not the trans people that somehow started a tariff war with Mexico or China or Canada. It's not the trans people that were out there taking away the Department of Education. So now if you were going to pay for your kiddo to go to school by using loans, those loans may not be available. It's not the trans people that they went out blaming for everything that was bad. It's also not the immigrants that they went out blaming everything on. And it's definitely not the Black folk. Black people, especially Black women, are still putting our bodies on the front lines in the fight for an America that will continue to kick us no matter what we do.
Boy, she is brilliant. And that right there, that is a winning message. I'll tell you what, I'm ready to donate to her political campaigns right now. Jasmine Crockett for president. Go out there and explain how no matter how hard Black women work in this country, they're still going to get kicked in the butt by our racist country. That is a winning message, my friend. And for her to have the political understanding of what just happened in the last election, to actually boil it down in such a wise and intelligent way to the American people, we're blaming the trans folk for losing jobs. Okay, Jasmine, stick with that. Honestly, I don't want to correct the record in any way whatsoever. I just want her words to stand where they are because I don't want her to change or get smarter in any way whatsoever. You know, it wasn't the immigrants' fault that woman in Georgia got murdered while she was running on. Well, actually, that one was an illegal immigrant's fault. But ultimately, we don't blame the immigrants or the illegal immigrants or the migrants or whatever else you want to call them. We actually blame you and your party and your feeble president who was pretending like he knew what he was doing. All right, so we move on from Jasmine to AOC, also in the bracket. Jasmine already, though, has laid a pretty good marker. Let's go to AOC because she always brings it.
Every time you see Tom Homan on Fox News, every time you see Kristi Noem, every time you see these law enforcement officials doing flashy television interviews, understand that they are taking resources away from looking at human trafficking. They're taking attention and focus and real dollars and real resources away from actual drug enforcement, trafficking enforcement, actually going after and actually trying to investigate really harmful activity that is happening. And so it's harmful in every aspect.
Yeah. So every time the director of Homeland Security or the border czar does a TV hit, that takes, I can't even say it without laughing, that takes resources away from investigating human trafficking. A good thing the former Secretary of Homeland Security and the former border czar never did any media hits. You know, what was it, Kamala Harris, the border czar? Didn't she do quite a bit of media? And she was the vice president of the United States and running for president for that matter. And of course, Alejandro Mayorkas, the former Homeland Security Secretary, pretty sure he was on the media quite a bit, you know, assuring everyone that the border was secure. Let me ask you something. If you're living in another country right now and you're contemplating coming into this country illegally, or if you're in this country right now on a student visa or maybe a tourist visa or something like that, and you're contemplating overstaying your visa and staying in this country illegally, when you see Homan on television, when you see Kristi Noem on television, when you see video footage of ICE agents rounding up criminals, sticking them on a plane and sending them to a prison in El Salvador, let me just ask you, you tell me, does that make you want to violate our immigration laws and stay in this country? Or does it make you think, ooh, perhaps I should go home, or perhaps I should not even attempt to break the border laws of the United States of America? I don't know. I could be wrong. Again, she's a congresswoman. She's way smarter than me. And we are trying to figure out who the stupidest Democrat is. But I'm pretty sure that might take the cake. Although she has stiff competition from, well, herself. Because AOC has a smorgasbord of options here to figure out if she's stupid or not.
It's not just that Trump is corrupt. It's that everyone participating in this is corrupt. Elon is corrupt. Jeff Bezos is corrupt. Mark Zuckerberg is corrupt in participating in this scheme that we all know everyone's just trying to look the other way because who really cares, right? And it's this idea of cynicism. It's this idea that no one cares about fairness anyway. No one cares about the rules anyway. So who cares if we break them? But at the end of the day, once again, who suffers? It's the 8-year-old kids with devastating autism diagnoses. It's the parents, the public librarian who had to quit his job to take care of his 16-year-old son with devastating medical disabilities. And now he might be on the street because they want to cut Medicaid in order to give even more tax cuts to folks like Bezos and Elon Musk. Like, we need to fight for the basic dignified society that is just giving working people a fair shake.
So, so-called tax cuts for Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos is taking money away from your 8-year-old autistic child. I would prefer her to sort of connect those dots a little bit further for me. But see, here's the beauty of being a Democrat. You never need to. You're never challenged by anyone in the media to explain exactly what you're saying. Remember how whenever Trump or anyone from the Trump administration says something, and CNN always puts on the Chiron or a headline, they said without evidence. Is there evidence here that I'm supposed to say, oh, they're taking money out of the Department of Education? Well, yes, because you just spent $100 million of that money at the Department of Education on DEI training instead of actually helping that 8-year-old with autism who deserves to have some specialized education because of his special needs. By the way, I don't remember her screaming and crying about that same 8-year-old with autism who didn't get the education that he deserved through his IEP during the COVID lockdowns. I don't remember her complaining about that ever. Because she's stupid. Now, Abby Phillips expressed surprise. Oh, we'll get to Abby Phillips in a minute because there's one more member of the squad we got to talk to. In fact, this may be my favorite clip of the day. As you know, the Trump administration is utilizing the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 that was passed into law by Congress and signed by President John Adams to export enemies of our country, foreign enemies who are not only in this country, but in this country illegally and have been wreaking terror on normal American peaceful citizens through crime, through gangs, through drugs, through murder, through rape, Venezuelan gang members that are now being sent and deported from this country. Ilhan Omar, of all people, has a solution to this: to get rid of the Alien Enemies Act. We need to undo this law from 1798. Here, she's the perfect spokesperson for this, by the way. Ilhan Omar, who is a foreign national, now an American citizen, who comes from a corrupt, terror-ridden country, Somalia, and who has spent most of her time in this country celebrating and making apologies for terrorists who have murdered innocent Americans. Some people did something. She's the one who now says, hey, we don't need an Alien Enemies Act here. There are no enemies coming from other countries.
It is hard to imagine anything more un-American than that. The Trump administration's immigration policy is a threat to immigrants like criminals. America is too great to fall prey to Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda. We need to restore basic humanity to our immigration system, and that starts with repealing the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 with Our Neighbors Not Enemies Act. Together, we will end this xenophobic law once and for all.
Listen, I want to give her some credit, because most Democrats, and especially people in the media, suggest that this law is invalid and can't be invoked, shouldn't be invoked to deport enemies of this country. At least she recognizes that the law is valid and in force, and now she's, suggesting that we overturned the law. I could be wrong, Democrats, don't want to give you any advice, but of all the people you've got in your, 428-person caucus there in the House of Representatives, this might not be the best spokesperson to promote the idea of doing away with the Alien Enemies Act. Again, you do your messaging and your imaging yourself. But of all the people in Congress to say there are no enemies out there, everything is fine, we don't need this law anymore, let everyone from other countries come in. Maybe she's not the best. Maybe she's not the best spokesperson. All right, so Abby Phillips suggested that she was surprised that Chris Murphy was on the list. And just so you know, the media is lining up right now. Have you seen Chris Murphy from Connecticut, this senator from Connecticut? He's been everywhere, right? He does media all over the place. Here, let me just show you who he is. It's that guy right there. You've seen him everywhere. You probably haven't seen him at all in your entire lifetime until about 4 weeks ago, and now he's everywhere. It's because the media is rallying behind him, thinking that he's going to be their next nominee for president. That's one reason why he's everywhere in the media. I'll tell you the other reason in just a sec. But Abby Phillips was surprised. Chris Murphy, what? He's not stupid. He's very smart. Everyone in Washington, D.C. and in New York have convinced themselves that this guy is really, really smart. So let's take a look at Chris Murphy and let's see how smart he is. This was a rally when they were trying to save USAID. Remember, we got to have USAID because they give money to Iraq to make a $50 million Sesame Street or something, and transgender education in Peru, or circumcision policies in Madagascar, stuff like that, right? But we need it because they're curing diseases. All the things that they told us USAID did, right? It was all charitable causes, really important stuff. Well, listen to Chris Murphy sort of give away the store here.
Elon Musk has been floating all sorts of awful, terrible conspiracy theories about what happens at USAID. Let's make it very clear that every single day, America is safer because of what happens at USAID. USAID fights terrorist groups all across this world, making sure that we address the underlying causes for a retreat to terrorism. USAID.
Hold on. So just so you know, we were told that USAID is an aid agency. They're there to promote American values and to just help people who are downtrodden and in need of support and special grants for their hospitals and their doctors' bills and things like that. But they are in no way some sort of subterfuge CIA agency that's under the cloak of, unaccountability without any oversight. No. They're not engaging in any sort of, spycraft or any sort of, covert military activities. He just said they fight terrorists. He just said it out loud, which is sort of giving away the show. Wait, no, but he's got more. Hold on.
He chases China all around the world, making sure that China doesn't monopolize contracts for critical minerals and port infrastructure all around the world. It supports freedom fighters everywhere.
Hold on. They support freedom fighters. I mean, he's literally explaining how USAID is involved in arming people, in fighting terrorism. What does that think about China? Oh, they don't have their own separate, diplomatic foreign policy or anything. No. They're just an aid agency. He just said they're fighting China for contracts and for. Okay, there's more. He really is a moron. Here's more Chris Murphy, one of the smartest men in Congress.
Our new NBC News poll, as you just saw, shows the Democratic Party at an all-time low approval rating. Why do you think Democrats are failing to connect with Americans at this critical moment of urgency, which you described?
Well, it's what I just talked about. I mean, I think Americans want the Democratic Party to stand up and fight and to take risks. Listen, I understand that had we gone into a shutdown, even for a handful of days, it would have been difficult, but it would have sent a message that the Democratic Party is not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. We are not going to let them write spending bills unilaterally that cut programs for people we care about, that give the president new and extraordinary power. I think Democrats in this country, but I think the broad middle of the public as well, want to see our party fighting in exceptional ways. That is the conversation that has to happen inside of the Democratic Party, inside our caucus. And if we don't get that right, if we continue to work with Republicans, if we continue to hand Donald Trump more power, we are going to lose our democracy.
Okay, so the American people, Democrats, and the center right, the center of America, the population that just voted for Donald Trump to be president of the United States and confirmed a majority in the House of Representatives for Republicans and gave the Republicans 3 additional seats in the Senate, putting his party now in the minority in the Senate. They want Democrats to fight Donald Trump, the guy they just elected, and put into power so that they can move in his agenda, the guy with higher approval ratings than he's ever had in his life. They want Democrats to not work with Republicans, the people that were just put into power. No. They want Democrats to shut the government down and at all costs not do anything that works in cooperation with the Republicans and with Donald Trump, the people who just won the elections. That's a brilliant political strategy that only somebody that the mainstream media has embraced as a brilliant Democrat would ever come up with. And I don't want to give them any advice. So you know what, Chris Murphy, keep going. You're doing great. You may win the bracket of stupidest Democrat. By the way, I told you I was going to reveal why you're seeing him on television so much. He recently left his wife of many years. He's now got a new squeeze that he sees around town. Looks quite a bit younger than the senator. She is, in fact, well, that's his former wife. Poor thing. And then look at a beautiful family that he's broken up by leaving his wife because he's a senator, don't you know? And you got to, upgrade, I guess, or something when you're a senator, especially if you're a Democrat. Couldn't keep it in his pants, so he decided to hook up with this young thing. She is, in fact, that is sadly his ex-wife now. She is a television producer and executive. She's a media person, and she's pushing Chris Murphy out into the media more and more and more and help crafting his new media image. So I guess he's got a new squeeze, and she's got designs on higher office. So that's what's going on. Now, there's one name that Scott Jennings didn't mention in his bracket, but we'd like to throw him in there. He is, of course, Chuck Schumer, currently the minority leader in the United States Senate. He's had a rough week. He's just had to cancel a book tour because, well, he said out of safety concerns. Just so you know, this was a book tour in New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C., cities dominated by Democrats. And the security concerns were from Democrats. He's afraid of Democrats right now because, well, he reversed course on his attempt to filibuster the continuing resolution last week. He caved to Republicans. And by the way, the book that he's promoting is about anti-Semitism. And you know, hell hath no fury like an anti-Semitic Democrat. So he canceled because of security concerns, but he's doing a couple of television appearances. Here's one this morning on CBS.
Hakeem and I, we have a day of action on Medicaid. In every state, in every corner of the country, Democrats are talking about they're going to Medicaid centers. They're going to people who would be deprived and
Senator, people don't have faith in the Democrats.
Well, let me say this. Look,
That's a rough scene when Oprah's bestie says, yeah, people don't have any faith in Democrats. And the fact that, oh, I'll show you how good we're going to be. We're going to go do days of action at Medicaid centers. That's what we're going to do. All right, that'll make a difference. That'll definitely leave a dent. He wasn't done on CBS Mornings.
In your own party, they're saying, look, it's time for you to go. They no longer trust your leadership. They want somebody else in there. What do you say about that?
Here's what I say.
In your own party saying
Yes.
that's to go.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm the best leader for the Senate. We have a lot of leaders. You know, when you don't have a president, there's not one leader of the party. There are lots of them. We have a lot of good people. But I am the best at keep winning Senate seats. I've done it in 2005. Just in 2020, no one thought we'd take back the Senate. Under my leadership, we took it. So we now are executing.
You're not going anywhere.
We have a great. We're moving forward. Hakeem and I have a plan. Let me just say this. There's a real contrast between the parties. The Republican Party now, particularly in office, is the party of rich oligarchs who want to really screw every average American so they can get tax cuts for the rich. And we are fighting that every day. So today, we just issued a statement at 8 o'clock that describes it. Hakeem and I, we have a day of action on Medicaid. In every state, in every corner of the country, Democrats are talking about they're going to Medicaid centers. They're going to people who would be deprived and
Senator, people don't have faith in the Democrats.
Well, let me say this. Look, and we're going to do this day in, day out on issues. Why are they doing tariffs and raising your cost $2,000? It's beginning to work. Why are they taking away Fannie and Freddie and raising your housing costs dramatically? It's beginning to work. His numbers have come down. If we keep at it every day, relentless fighting and showing how they're hurting people so badly, Trump's numbers will get much lower. And his both popularity, but also his effectiveness will decline. That, I believe that strategy will work.
It's kind of sad, actually. It's sort of pathetic and desperate. And again, I don't want Chuck Schumer to go anywhere, so keep going. But he is clueless. He is not reading the room. And he doesn't recognize that time has passed him by at this point. But he keeps repeating the same old talking points. In fact, he went 2 blocks away to show up on The View about 2 hours later. And, well, see if this is familiar to you.
So a lot of people responded to the anguish. I appreciate it. I wake up 3 a.m. sometimes so worried about the future of the country under these oligarchs or klepto, whatever, or, you know, oligarchs, I guess.
Yes.
And
yeah, he wanted to say kleptocrats, but he realized that sounded way too much like Democrats. So he stuck with oligarchs because that's the talking point that he repeated over there. What was that? He wakes up at 3 a.m. thinking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk has got to be loving this. All right, one more Chuck Schumer, and then it's time to vote.
I am hopeful that our Republican colleagues will resume working with us. And I talked to them. One of the places I told them to go in the gym, you know, when you're on that bike in your shorts, panting away next to a Republican, a lot of the inhibitions come off.
I really wish none of us have that image in our minds now. Can we take back the last 5 seconds of our lives, please? What is going on here? What kind of moron thinks that that's a good talking point? Oh, trust me, everything's fine. Republicans are going to work for me. After all, I sweat on the exercise bike with them, and my inhibitions come off.
Can we do one more Schumer clip that I just sent
you?
You
got another one? Oh, absolutely. Oh, I love that Schumer is on this little publicity tour where he feels like he's safe and he can, really speak his mind. All right, more on The View. Here's Chuck Schumer.
You know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees. They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay.
That is the worst possible message the Democrats could have right now. Do you realize one of the biggest problems they had in the last election was small business owners? And I want Chuck Schumer and every single one of these woke Democrats, these stupid morons. I'm sorry, I don't like people calling people names, but they've earned it. I want each one of them to be on television every single day saying, mocking them, mocking small business owners and saying, oh, you think you built that business? You would be nothing without us. You need us. You need Democrats in charge because we made everything so great up until now. Oh, poor Chuck. Like I said, it's sad at this point. It's very sad, but it's time for you to vote. Let's get right to it. Let us know. We've laid out basically one bracket. I have a feeling that we could do like the full 64 teams, but who is the stupidest Democrat as of now? You got Jasmine, you got AOC, you got Ilhan Omar calling for the end of the Alien Enemies Act. You've got Chris Murphy, and we threw Chuck Schumer there in as well. Who do you want to see more from right now to help promote the American and Republican cause? Vote now, and we'll let you know who won.